It's the Final Word Daily with Lacuna. Focus on your game. Lacuna has your kit covered. I'm Daniel Norcross. I am delighted to say that for the first time in this Women's World Cup, we are joined by the doyen of women's cricket scoring. It's the great man himself. It is Phil Long, as we look back on yet another thrilling day of rain in Colombo as Pakistan took on New Zealand in a game that was so vital, so pivotal, so important. Phil, sum up the genuine excitement of today, if you can, in 30 seconds.
You've given me 30 seconds, Dan. It's New Zealand, Pakistan in Colombo. We know what comes next, don't we? Well, we started on time today. Pakistan into bat, 52 for 3 at the end of 12 and a half overs. Down came the rain. We started at 3 o'clock. That was 4 o'clock. So we got an hour in, a break in play. Back we came out. We didn't think we'd see that. Pakistan got to 92 for 5, 25 overs. We're halfway through the first innings. Can we? Can we get a full game in? Can we get half a game in? No, we can't. Down comes the rain. On come the covers. We might get a restart. We might not. In the end, we don't. It's another match with no result in Colombo.
Well, Phil, that was a terrific summation. I don't know what more we can say about the rain in Colombo, except why? Can we sum this up in a noise? Can we sum it up in words? Can we sum it up in the Gettysburg Address? What can be said about the sheer insanity of going to play matches in Sri Lanka at this time of year and not simply starting at 11 a.m.? I don't know, but they haven't. And for those of you who are wondering if it can all be changed now, no, it can't, because that would entirely destroy the integrity of the competition. What has it done, though, for this round of matches? There's one last game in this round of matches, and we'll preview it later because it's a big one. It's England against India here in indoor, which, for those of you who are wondering, don't get your hopes up. It doesn't mean it's got a roof, and it did rain today, so there could be rain here as well. But what does that point for each team mean? I suspect, Phil, you're going to tell me that Pakistan are toast, but what about New Zealand?
Well, Pakistan are toast-ish. They're virtually toast. We're virtually done with that. The other thing is not, let's forget about New Zealand, South Africa. They're through to the semi-finals. And let's remember, we were in Guwahati, just over 2 weeks ago, skittled by England, 69, lost by 10 wickets. We're already talking then, it's going to be very difficult for South Africa to qualify for the semi-finals with their net run rate. We did not see these successive run of victories coming 4 in a row now. They've won 4 out of 5. And they're through. They join Australia. The other thing is, we forget how good South Africa are in these ICC competitions. The last 3 T20s and World Cups, they've reached the semi-finals in each competition. As for New Zealand, their Colombo nightmare is over. They go now back to the mainland of India, if you want. They've still got a chance of qualifying, but it's going to be tricky from here.
Look, there are more games still to be played in Colombo, and you fancy that it's going to go pretty much the same way. It's very, very predictable. The weather conditions in Colombo do what they do in October. You start the day, I was there for a week with nice, bright sunshine. It's beautiful. You hang around by the pool. You consider a cocktail. You may even, wonder, shall I nip to the spa and still come back in time to get a bit more bronzing and tanning and all that kind of thing? Oh, there's a cricket match starting. It's bubbling up with clouds. Never mind. I'm sure it'll be fine. No, of course it won't. It will rain. That is what's going to happen, and other teams going to have to go there and play in those conditions. But what it's kind of done is it's ruined the hopes of those of us who wanted to see something fun happen for the likes of Pakistan, for Sri Lanka, and to a degree Bangladesh. These are places, these are teams that could have caused real upsets. And that, I think that to me has been the biggest shame of the whole Colombo escapade so far. Looking at Pakistan against England, looking at Sri Lanka against New Zealand the other day. New Zealand actually potentially got away with murder, didn't they? They needed 259 to win that game. You told us on our WhatsApp group that they'd never got anywhere near that in the second innings in a World Cup. And it's just sort of thwarting. Today, though, was a bit different. Pakistan, they had to bat first, and they didn't make the best fist of it.
Yeah, well, if New Zealand got away with murder, then what did England get away with the other day against Pakistan? If rain hadn't have come, that game was only going one way, whether we'd like to believe it or not. 9 games in Colombo so far in this World Cup. There's 11 in total. I think we can safely say now there's not going to be a semi-final or final in Colombo, because don't forget that was an option as the tournament started. Yeah, 9 games in Colombo so far. We've had 1 full abandonment, 3 no results, and 1 game that was due to 2020. So straight away, it's put a little bit of a mockery on this tournament so far, hasn't it?
And this is what Sophie Devine has had to say, albeit in my own English accent. She said, it's extremely frustrating, let's be honest. You wait 4 years for a World Cup and to have to suffer through the rain. I hope in future editions they think of playing earlier in the day. She's spot on. We've seen the rain comes in the evening, so play at 10 or 11. For the game to be scuppered by rain is a real shame for me, and I dare say for the rest of her team. And when asked about the dressing room, she said it's pretty flat. We wanted to play today. We were really up and about, but the situation's very clear. We have to win both games, starting with India in Mumbai. We head back to India tomorrow and look forward to the challenges. And that is part of it, isn't it? That I guess the big 5, would go into Colombo where they've got to play, for the most part, not every team has to do this, but 5 teams had to play Sri Lanka in Colombo, and 7 teams have to play Pakistan in Colombo. And so those big 5 are all, they know how important it is to collect points there. India got to play Sri Lanka in the first game in India, but for everyone else, if you mess up, you're looking to pick up those points against those 2 sides. But the flip side of that is, before everyone gets all a bit sort of like uppity about it, well, Pakistan were denied victory against England. Sri Lanka might argue they were denied victory themselves against New Zealand. So you could argue, Longy, that it's actually all worked out even Stevens because nobody's been able to play any bloody cricket.
Yeah, you're right. It's been a two-way thing, hasn't it? There's no doubt about it. Teams that would have expected to win out in Sri Lanka haven't done that. They've been saved by losing. So taking a point has kind of been a positive for them. New Zealand themselves now, they always knew with the fixture list it was kind of loaded in their favour early on. They play India, they play England in the final game. They probably deep down knew they were games they had to take at least a win from. Now they know they've probably got to win both to qualify. Like you say, we knew from the start it was going to be 4 from 5. It's definitely turned out that way. It's just kind of the way we've got to that point that's slightly unsatisfactory.
The way today's game went, because there were 25 overs, let's talk about them briefly. 93 for 5, wasn't it? By the end of that, there was some good cricket in there, actually. We saw a fabulous catch from Susie Bates. Real beauty. Smashed to her short, thwacked one-handed catch at short mid-wicket. Her 9th catch in this World Cup.
Catch of this World Cup, Dan. Yeah, her 8th catch of this World Cup. She's had a tough time with the bat. I think we can be safe to say that. But no, her catching still as good as ever. Her 8th catch in this World Cup. I made a note as well. Her 92nd in total in ODI cricket. She's way ahead of anyone else. She's played a lot of games, but when those catches come along, she still takes them.
Eden Carson pulled off a pretty decent one. I mean, she put some sauce on it. It was hit straight at her, but it was hit with real power. Pakistan, though, it's very hard to be able to gauge the way they batted today. They were aware that the rain was going to come, weren't they? And as a result of that, you can't really plan. You can't plan for 50-over innings when you're doing that. You're thinking, oops, the rain's coming. We've got to try and get as many as we can up to 20 overs. What will Duckworth-Lewis set New Zealand in return? It's an utterly artificial environment. But we saw some decent bowling from Leah to who? To who?
To who?
Who?
To you.
No, to you. We saw some good stuff from her. We also saw Mealy Kerr bowl googly after googly after googly, and I really loved it when she did. She did the skipper with a googly, and she was genuinely surprised by the googly, even though she'd only bowled googlies.
That's right, the surprise googly in a bunch of googlies. Yeah, it was the ultimate surprise. It was that was an odd part. But you're right. Going back to what you were saying, Pakistan got to 20 overs. They're in a game. Their innings is going to be counted if you want. And then what do? Do you stick or twist because you want runs on the board because you know the rain is coming? You know Duckworth Lewis going to get involved. But as you try and score those runs more quickly, you lose wickets, and you lose wickets, Duckworth Lewis changes, and it's just a really difficult place to be in. And I don't think we've said it enough. This is a 50-over World Cup, meant to be played over 50 overs a side. The minute it's not, it becomes a little bit tricky. And once you think, well, it's going to be 31 overs a side, and then it might, so today was going to be 46, and it was going to be 36, then it probably would have ended up being 20 overs a side. And nobody knows where they stand, do they? And at the end, I suppose taking a point apiece was probably as fair as it's going to come.
Yeah, I don't think New Zealand will feel that, and I understand why Sophie Devine will feel that, but that's because when you get to this point in the tournament, everyone is scrabbling for every point, and New Zealand know that they are in a scrap with the top four. Let's take a little look at that because there's a game coming up tomorrow here in Indore, and it's huge. It's England against India. There is still a way that New Zealand can qualify, but now Kiwis, and it's not normal for them to do this, but I'm thinking, looking at that table, they are praying for an England win. Would that be right?
Yeah. I mean, look, there are lots of. Let's take the positives of all of this. We're going into the business end of this competition. 2 or 3 games left for most teams. There's 5 teams playing for the 4 places we mentioned. Cast your mind back to the Men's World Cup a couple of years ago. It all seemed to be done and dusted in the first couple of weeks, didn't it? But here we've got a lot to play for. Yeah, as you say, I think New Zealand's route to the semi-final, and as we know from the World T20, get in the semi-finals, anything can happen. Get yourself in the semis. The way they're going to get in the semis is to get there at the expense of India. There are other ways that can happen, but I think that's the most likely way. So as you say, tomorrow here in Indore, they definitely want an England win.
And I don't know how likely that is. England are going to play their first game on a road, essentially. Their World Cup campaign has been in Guwahati and in Colombo. And so far, that has worked for them in some ways. It worked for them against South Africa. They squeaked their way through against Bangladesh, let's be absolutely clear. They comfortably beat Sri Lanka in the end. I mean, you can't say, simply because somebody got 114 and somebody took 4 wickets. Yes, England do have 2 of the very best players in the world in Nat Silverbrunt and Sophie Ecclestone, and they came to the party on that occasion. But they were all over the place against Pakistan. Are they going to be relieved that they're now finally going to be able to unleash their batters on good surfaces, or is this going to be the bigger test because the batting is the thing that's under the spotlight?
You're exactly right. I mean, if let's take the positive. Charlotte Edwards has always said that, Angie. Let's take the positive from things. They've escaped from Sri Lanka unbeaten. They're back in India. We think tomorrow's going to be a road in Indore. So that's the pressure is then on England's batting to perform on that road. But as we saw at 76 for 7 against Pakistan, they didn't appear to be a batting unit that was ready to bat on a road. They've got 5, 6, and 7 across the tournament, averaging under 10 between them. So we need openers. England need the openers to perform. Heather Knight, she's had a decent knock so far in this tournament. We know about Nat Silverbrunt. But if India get into England early, then the pressure's on, the confidence isn't there. And how many times can England expect Charlie Dean to come and bail them out in what should be quite a high-scoring affair? I think that's a lot to ask. So, yeah, pressure on that England top order tomorrow to perform and score runs when, we mentioned at the start of the tournament, there should be some 300 run scores about. It's not really happened other than a couple of games. Tomorrow might be that chance, but England need to put those runs on the board.
For India, you saw them against Australia and you saw them get up to 330, but they should have got to 360 odd. They've got the batting firepower on a road to put on a large total. They didn't quite get to where they needed to, and Australia, as they have done throughout this tournament, when they've been under pressure, they found their way, and then they kind of really sauntered to that target. I know they lost wickets along the way, but we also know that you don't get down to the tail until you've taken the 9th wicket. So that game was kind of always theirs. My big concern for India, and it should be for all Indian cricket watchers, is 5 bowlers. They've got 5 bowlers and no more. There's no other side in this World Cup that has only 5 bowlers. New Zealand have been routinely using 7 or 8. Australia have been using 7 or 8. England have had 6, and that has been slightly exposing. 5 on a road if Heather Knight or Amy Jones or Tammy Beaumont, and you look, England have struggled against the moving ball. They might not struggle against the non-moving ball. And then where does Harmanpreet Kaur turn to if those 5 bowlers, 1 or 2 of them are getting tapped? What do they do?
Well, what do they do? And this has been the problem so far with India, as you mentioned. They seem rigidly stuck to their plans. What they're going to do is they're going to pick 5 bowlers, are going to pack the batting, and yeah, that can work. And at 330 against Australia, they're gonna win most games in women's ODI history, scoring that amount. The trouble is they were playing Australia 2025. We've already seen they scored 326 against New Zealand, played exactly the same way. Didn't care that people were getting out. I'll get 40, get out. I'll get 40, get out. The batting goes all the way down, and when we say all the way down, it goes all the way down. 50 from Alana King in this World Cup. Kim Garth, a couple of decent 30s. So yeah, the Australian batting was there. As regards tomorrow, as you say, where does Harmanpreet Kaur turn with this plan of bowling, just picking 5 bowlers? If England get into them, yeah, there could be another 300 on the board. And what can Harmanpreet do about that? She's been getting a lot of stick on social media and the Indian selectors as well. But that's the route they're going down. They're picking the 6 batters, the 5 bowlers, and they just have to see how it works out.
For me, they've already got an all-rounder in Amanjot. I don't quite understand this. They've got to have faith in the fact that Sneh Rana's coming in at number 9. She's a number 8 or even 7 in anyone else's side. I would be trying to find somebody in that top order to drop, and I know it's harsh. It's harsh on Diol or Jemima Rodriguez. For me, it would probably be Diol. I'd let go because of just the higher ceiling of Rodriguez. And I'll be trying to get Renuka Singh in there without a doubt, especially on a pitch like indoor, where I think that kind of extra seam option could be essential. And you just, to me, look, Dipti Sharma is one of their bowlers, and she's also one of their batters. They've got more batting than they absolutely need to, and this, I think, is a kind of obsession that India have, is with their batting. But if Nat Sither-Brunt does get going, she can do an Alyssa Healy on something like that. There are very few players in women's cricket who can score you 170, 180. If you've got a proper road, that kind of a score could be the difference, can't it?
Well, I mean, if let's face it, if Nat Sither-Brunt gets in, she can do a lot more than Alyssa Healy. If she gets in and gets going, there's no player like her in the women's game. We've noted it at games before. She'll hit 6s that don't really appear to be hit with these slightly smaller boundaries. Her score can race along. Just mention what you were mentioning about the Indian lineup. Pratika, Harleen Diol, they've come under a lot of stick for their scoring rates. They've still scored more runs than any other batter in that Indian team. So they're there scoring the runs. Yeah, Jemima under a bit of pressure. Harmanpreet under a bit of pressure as well. Deepti Sharma will always, she'll always perform. And Amanjot, we saw a brilliant T20 innings, didn't we, in the English summer? She's got the all-round game, but for whatever reason, the Indian selectors seem reticent to give her a really good go in this World Cup.
Look, we'll find out. It promises to be a pivotal, absolutely massive game. It's probably bigger for India than it is for England because they're 3 points clear of India at the moment. And they know that even though they've got Australia to come next, they do have New Zealand at the back end. This could, of course, become a banana skin, but that is their get-out-of-jail-free card at the very back end of the group stage. It's time for us, though, very shortly to go to the Hall of Fame. But before we do, some words for Lacuna, who are our sponsors throughout this Women's World Cup. Do you run a cricket club? Are your women and girls teams in men's kit? You may never have thought to check in with the women's team and find out whether or not they're happy with their kit. Does it work for them? Approximately 70% of teenage girls drop out of sport. Kit is often noted as one of the primary deterrents to participation for girls. We saw firsthand what inappropriate or inadequate kit was doing to girls in cricket. Trousers that are see-through and don't fit, worries over periods, men's and boys' pads, spikes, clothing, protective equipment. All of this says to girls, this is not the sport for you. You're not welcome here. If we can remove kit as a barrier to participation, what will female cricket look like in 10 years? If those girls who decided it was just too hard, too uncomfortable, too unwelcoming to stay and went to other sports, how good will our teams be if more of them were to remain in the game. And, you know, I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and women weren't really participating in sports. Sport was seen as a mostly male enterprise. That's not the case anymore. We look at the Lionesses, we look at netball, the England netball team, how well they're doing. We look at the rugby side, the football side. England women's team winning the 2017 World Cup. This is a fertile time really to push women's sport, and Lacuna Sports are going about this in the best way possible, Phil.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've mentioned it a few times while we've been out here. Let's just focus on cricket. 2013, the World Cup was held in this very same country. There is almost no comparison between the two competitions. The way the game has grown, you look at the crowd, you look at the interest, you look at the ICC implementation of the whole thing, and women's sport, women's cricket, it's on a trajectory. It's only going one way, and anything that keeps girls and women playing, wanting to play the game, increasing their participation in the game, can only be a good thing, can only be a great thing.
And if you run a cricket club, you'll know absolutely how vital it is. It's a community service, and a lot of the time you see a lot of men's clubs just go to the wall through the lack of female participation. Encourage female participation, make your club a community hub. Lacuna is helping make that happen. Time for a break. After the break, it's Hall of Fame. Welcome back to the Final Word Hall of Fame. I have no idea what we can do about this. 25 overs, 93 for 5. I'm going to take the easy way out and go Susie Bates's catch. I'm sorry, you're really annoyed, aren't you? You were hoping you could do that yourself, Phil. But I've look, it's been a tough day. It's been a long day. It was a beautiful catch. What I loved about it was that it was a two-handed catch taken one-handed, and we've all done it. Essentially what happened is it went even harder to her left than she was expecting. And so she went there with both hands, but it hit the left hand first. But amazingly, it stuck. On a day that lacked Hall of Fame moments, unless you really want to count the ground staff over and over again, that's my Hall of Famer.
Yeah, it's a great shout, Dan. It's a great shout. We mentioned it in the chat. Susie Bates, she's had a tough competition, but 8 catches in this World Cup. Nobody's got any more. 92 across her ODI career. Nobody's got more. Yeah, Susie Bates's catch, she just adds to that list. I could give you another Hall of Famer. Shall I give you one? I'll give you a date.
A date.
I'll give you the 3rd of April, 2005, which, if you think in your mind, is 3-4-5, which we love that kind of thing, don't we? Yeah. I'll give you 4 fixtures. I'll give you Australia versus India, Ireland versus Sri Lanka, New Zealand versus South Africa, and the West Indies versus England. It's the 2005 World Cup in Pretoria. All the games are held in Pretoria. It pours it down in Pretoria that day, and all 4 games are abandoned that day. So if you're moaning about the weather in Sri Lanka, think again, cast your mind back 20 years to Pretoria and cheer up.
Bloody hell. I genuinely was not expecting that. That's quality, because I needed some cheering up, because I'm getting, do you know what? I'm getting a little bit sick of having to talk about the rain. I think that tomorrow might be all right. I would tell you that we've been in indoor, and indoor is in the middle of India, and it's a place where it doesn't really rain, and today it absolutely hosed it down. But only briefly. The weather forecast for tomorrow is great. It's 29, 30 degrees. It's a 0% chance of rain. I believe, for once, we might just have a game of cricket, and it's going to be an enormous one. It's going to be India against England. We'll be here. It's the Final Word Daily. We're not going anywhere. From Phil Long and from myself, Daniel Norcross. It is until tomorrow, when please, oh please, oh please, at the sunshine, it is goodbye.